All right, hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Go ahead and we got a challenge from Alistair, so we're gonna go ahead and I've been working on this last couple days. So just to quickly look at the challenge here. Let's see if I can bring it up. It's a mining build challenge. Build a mining vehicle. It can be designed for mining any ore on the map, but it must also be able to drill and store materials. This is a more diverse challenge. You can build whatever you like as long as it meets the criteria. It could be a mining ground vehicle or even a submarine extracting underwater materials like uranium. New change. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but essentially there. He's going to have the mods pick the top 7, then he's going to go over those. He'll do a quick overview of all the builds, but those are going to be the ones in the challenge. I think that's a good idea. And that's what a lot of people used to do. I kind of fought that myself just because it was, you know, I didn't want the, you know, same people in all the time, but it just takes too much time, and I certainly understand that. Requirements: must cost less than 90K. Must work properly without infinite fuel electric. XML and glitches are fine. Power plant's up to you. Must fit inside the box given. Must be built for drilling and moving either small or large amounts or knows. Each participant gets 1 submission. No already started build. No team submissions. No workshop micros. No mods. I like the no workshop micros on this one. I used to have those in mine a lot. Makes you actually have to learn how to do some of the stuff instead of just putting Z controller and everything. No mods. I like that as well. Pre-build to be included in the final voting. The video must follow these rules above. And then there's some workshop page, other stuff. But that's, you know, for points. But very good. I've already started this, worked on it quite a bit. Having some engine problems at the moment that I got to work on, but we'll get moving on that. But this is what I've got. So it's essentially a front-end loader. It's got some of the new parts, which I like, and I've been wanting an excuse to try out. So, for example, it has this new pivot that allows to put RPS through. That's awesome. That was something I asked that I really wanted in the game. The devs added that. That's great. As you can see, the RPS will actually go through and run the drill. There is an behind this XML piece here. This is what makes it work. You don't actually have to have the drill touch the ore. It just has to be close. So as you can see, it's close. And then we have some storage in there. Let's see. Currently I have some engine problems. I'm not sure what it is, but I usually don't use 3x3s unless they're shipped, so it's probably just PID settings. I'm thinking that's what it is, so I'm going to play with it. But let's go ahead and take a quick look at it. So we'll jump in. Normally I like to control my gear shifting with up and down arrow, but this one has a bucket, so I'm using 1 and 2. Did the transmission yesterday. As you can see, I'm having some RPS fluctuations. I gotta work on that. It's likely just PID tuning. But the drill is spinning, so as long as the engine's on, pretty much the drill's spinning. And so it's in there, and so just like a real front-end loader, you should be able to just drop it down. And like you're scraping up ore, so. And you can hear it drilling right now. So it'd be like you're just scooping it up with the front loader, so. Go back around. You can also just sit on there. It's not very realistic to just sit on there because it's kind of like, you know, my favorite thing to do in game is mining, and we've done the multiplayer streams before mining, and this would be a good tool to somebody to be driving around, scraping up. The capacity is 81, so right there we've done a little bit more in the 2 passes, more than 10% of the capacity. So as you can see, you can just kind of drive through. I don't want to do glitches too much. I've got a... Like, I don't want to do power glitches. Let's put it that way. Like, I don't mind. I'd put a rocket motor in there that's weighted down just for the whole purpose, I don't have to spam a bunch of battle cannon pieces. I've got some in there, but I don't have to spam a ton of them. Well, it is a glitch. I'm not like hugely opposed to the rocket fuel because things don't weigh what they should weigh, and so we can either kind of screw around with it, or we can just say, hey, you know, things don't weigh the way what they're supposed to, and instead of you know, jamming a ton of like superfluous blocks in there for weight, you can just go ahead and XML a rocket motor, and you can move your CG, you can make it more realistic, you can make things weigh more what they should weigh. Part of that is, once we fill this up, you'll see what I'm doing here. I'll stop and I'll kind of show you the cheaty way of drilling. Not really cheaty, but it's not realistic. Of course, you'd have to do forward motion to scrape it up, but you can go and set the brake and rev up, and you can drill really fast, as you can see. Why this is having all sorts of problems, I don't know. I got to deal with my engine, but you can see you can drill. So one thing, like, you know, I've driven some front-end loaders in real life and a bunch of different vehicles, telehandlers, stuff like that. And you don't want to fill the bucket of a vehicle like this and then raise the bucket up high. Stand by, I gotta make sure I'm in gear. Okay, so like this is how you want to drive when the bucket is full. You want to drive with it very low, and this is important. I started sliding down a hill in a front end loader before, and you know, you need to keep the weight low, and it's not very tippy when the weight is where it's supposed to. Now, I'm gonna put this in the workshop page so people know that that's what it's supposed to act like. Now, if you raise the bucket all the way up, it's heavy, it's full of ore, and the reason you don't drive around like this is because you'll tip over. And as you see, it is being pretty tippy, especially if you start going faster here. It's going to be pretty tippy. And so that's kind of to be expected. And so, you know, you as the operator kind of need to realize, hey, you're not supposed to be driving around with a bucket up. Now, I've got it to the point where the center of gravity is low enough, it likely won't tip over unless you're on a hill. But, you know, it is tippy with the bucket up. You're not supposed to drive around with a bucket up like this. Just not supposed to do it. And then I'm going to do it the tip so that it is based on the angle of the bucket. But right now I just have it as a button. And as you can see, it will drop ore out. All right, so I'm actually going to check on this engine and see what's up because I'm having all sorts of problems with it. All right, so it's not that. It's not that. I got to see what's wrong with this engine. I'm having problems. So 220, it's not that likely. 8.6 atmospheres. I don't think it's that. Let me check the air. I'm having issues with this, so I gotta fix it. So that's the fuel tank pressure is at 1 atmosphere. See if I can see an exhaust manifold. I need to see an exhaust manifold. Right there. Nope, trying to find an exhaust manifold. There we go. Yeah, 0.1 atmosphere, so that's not the issue. Curious why the fuel is at 8.4 atmospheres. So, but as you can see, that will dump all of the ore out, and then you'll dump it into whatever you want. Train car, back of a trailer, whatever. All right, I gotta play with this engine some. So likely what's causing this engine problem is some manner of pressure problem. I'm going to play with this really quick. And I'm going to try to vent air. And I want to make sure that's not the problem. I do have the tanks ventilated, so that shouldn't be the issue, but we're going to try this. So I'm having some sort of issue. I might need to supercharge this. I know I've had to do that in the before, so let's go ahead and... Alright, so it's still doing its bullshit there. Sometimes the problem is exhaust. This doesn't appear to be the issue. It's got 33 atmospheres of fuel going in there. I'm gonna try to see what's up with the I'm having issues with this engine here. Exhaust is oscillating on and off, but I don't think it's an exhaust problem either. I'm gonna try a bunch of things one at a time and see if I can fix them. So let's go ahead. So kind of gonna go one at a time, see if I can't figure out what the issue is with this. All right, real simple. We're gonna pump out the exhaust and see if that's it. And then 6 will turn those on. So just gonna do a process of elimination, knock out one thing at a time, see if that's what it is. Okay. Because I very, very rarely put 3x3s in anything that's not a boat. So it seems to be getting rid of its exhaust no problem anyway. Try and get the exhaust manifold. Yeah, there's no exhaust problem there. I don't know why the fuel is at such a high pressure. See how it's at 31 atmospheres? That shouldn't really be causing any problems. It's pressurizing the fuel. I don't know why it's doing that, though. Air's at a negligible amount of atmospheres. Alright. Let's go through the gears, make sure that I didn't screw anything up here. So that's going from this gearbox, which is on a constant 1. It's going up there, and it's going to the drill. It's breaking off. It's going through the transmission, which comes down here through the transmission, which then comes around here and goes down into this clutch, which goes down into the, what's this? Actually, that's not connected to anything. That can, yeah, that's not connected to anything. That can go away, but it's fine for now. That goes into the drive shafts. Okay, that's working. That looks fine. All that looks fine. All right, so exhaust isn't the problem. What we're going to do is keep reloading the same save. And then change one thing at a time so we can figure out what the hell's going on with us. And that should help to deduce the problem, I'm thinking. Okay, right there. It's pretty much, I've always supercharged my 3x3s anyway, and I've always put them in boats, so. So very well could be an air problem. Six right there. All right. If it's not air, exhaust, or fuel, if it's not air, exhaust, or fuel, it is likely a microcontroller issue, so. So it appears it's probably an air issue. It seems like it's running better, but it's hard to tell. You see the flow rate starting to go down. But it's running better. So likely it is part of this issue is air. Yeah, it's an air issue. Okay, it needs to be, it's not getting enough air naturally aspirated. It needs to be super turboed, or supered. We don't have turbos, unfortunately. So I put a proper heavy equipment transmission in here. So this is first gear. We're doing a whopping about 3 meters per second. So then if you shift up, do a little bit more. You don't want this to be going too fast. There's top speed. So you're doing about 15-ish miles an hour. And top speed. Now, when I was talking about, so you want to have the bucket low and a front end loader. You notice how it is trying to tip? That's about normal for the speed. As you raise the bucket, you're raising the center of gravity. See what it tries to do? It tries to tip over. And so that's, you would very easily be able to tip one of these over IRL, especially if you switch directions like this really quickly. But I have the center of gravity down nice and low just for a little bit more usability. And if you fill the hoppers up, that's really going to make it even more likely that you tip it over. The other benefit where a lot of people don't get with manual transmissions, and especially why you want them in work equipment, is they really make it so you can control your speed. And that's very important, is the ability to control your speed, because at a certain gear ratio, you're only going to be able to go so fast. Alright, and you see we can drill pretty fast. So this is likely mostly going to be PID tuning at this point, which is nice. So I can get that fixed up. It's going to automatically shut off the drill once it hits 81 ore. Now, it's actually kind of cool, is if you drill inside the bucket will fill with those chunks, okay? The bucket will fill with those chunks of material, and so one thought I had was don't put any... I'd have to put some storage in for the challenge, but don't put much storage in, and then it will actually fill up the bucket. But unfortunately, the devs, for understandable reasons, because people always complain about like lag and everything, they made it so that you that the chunks of ore don't last that long before they disappear. And so we can do a quick test of this here. So if we grab how do I grab one? Is it F? Now, how do I grab one out of there? I can't remember. E? No, it's not E or F. Let's see. I don't know. I can't remember how to grab one out of there. But if you left the ore on the ground, it... here, let's just do this. They don't last for very long, so here, let's do this. So, okay, so now the bucket is full. See how it's tipping over? Now, especially with a wheel loader, my game's going to crash. I have to, I don't know what, I have to make a new save. My game's crashing, which is likely something to do with the save. Yeah, it's crashed the last 2 days, so likely I have a corrupt save, so I gotta fix that. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover screen up and reboot this game. Alright, that's the second time it's done in 2 days, so I think my save's bad. So I gotta make a new save here. We'll do that as well. But, so what I was starting to say with the wheel loader is when you turn the wheel loader, because it's articulating, it has a greater likelihood of tipping over like that. And then if you put the center of gravity up too high, it will get very tippy. And so there's actually these cool charts. Trying to remember my code. 19 for my seed. There's actually some really cool charts on the on piece of equipment like this that allow you to see where you can, how high you can put the bucket or the forks of the forklift, and how much weight you can have. And so, especially for telehandlers, this is important because telehandlers, they both go up and out, and because they go up and out, you end up with you know, an opportunity to really overweight them, and you'll tip over if you do that. So I'll see if I can find one of those charts once I get this done. See, I'm trying to just make the new save here. No survey, railroad, storage, trading, mission zones. No thanks. Default tutorial. Okay, good. All right, good. So let me see if I can find one of those charts. Yeah, so you just type in telehandler chart, it pops right up. How's it going there, Amanda? How are you? Yeah, so this is a telehandler chart. So based on how far out and how high you raise the arms of the telehandler, it tells you how much weight you can carry. And so as you can see the forks right here, if the forks are low and close, right, you can carry 7,000 pounds. Right? Even if they're high and close, right, because the center of gravity is close to the vehicle, you can carry 7,000 pounds. Now, if you come out a little bit more, it now goes down to 6,000 pounds, which is a considerable amount. It's more than 10% of the mass is now is reduced because of that little bit of extension. You extend again, you're down another, you know, almost 20% there. Extend it out again, right? You're losing another 1,000, another 1,000, another 1,000, another 1,000, until finally, when you're out in this range here, you can only carry 1,000 pounds. You can carry 7,000 close to you. You can carry 1,000 out far, and so that really makes a difference in whether or not you can carry something like that. Let me see. All right, let me get my world set up here real quick. We want to reveal the map. Shut off all this nonsense. That's good. Okay, good. I'm going to save it. Just, all right, there we go. I got the new save, and thank you for being a member of Captain's Crew for 22 months, man. I appreciate it. Let me take Let me put that on the recognition channel while I'm at it. Da-da-da. Where is recognition? I always can't find it. It's because I'm not on my thing. There it is. There it is. Oh, yeah. All right, good. So we're saved up here. We got the new setup here. Yeah, so when you're driving around, you don't want your bucket or whatever load you're moving, you don't want it really high. It makes it so that you get very tippy very fast. And so, you know, when I used to drive, like I drove a small loader, by putting the bucket really low, you could carry a lot of weight and it would not be tippy. If as soon as you started lifting that bucket up, it became more and more tippy as you raise the center of gravity. And that then becomes problematic, and so you want to make sure you don't do that. All right, that was this one here. Okay, so it looks like it's an air problem and a little bit of PID tuning, and so that's all it is. It's an air problem. There's two things I can do. I could do it like this with a pump, which I'm kind of not thrilled to do. And I'm kind of hurting on space to put that pump in there anywhere. Or more likely what I want to do is I want to put a, see if I can do it with an impeller. All right, so let's see if we can find a place to run an impeller. We should be able to get it right there, I'd say. Yeah, if we can do it right here, I can take some power off. It finally made it so I can be able to work on builds while I'm at work, so that's good. I built some of this while I was at work. So. All right, so the main clutch is always engaged on this build because I need to have power for the drills to always run. I could see about doing an electric blower. It's a thought. I don't know. I'm going to play with this first here. Let's see what I can do here. Impeller. All right, let's see. This is fluid out, fluid in. Okay, that works. All right. So we'll see how this runs with the air in there. Okay, so that should, we'll double check it, make sure this is going the right way. That's fluid out, that's good. Mm-hmm. Take a fluid port here. Okay, good. So that should work for us. All right, nice. So that, let's give that a run, make sure that works with that impeller attached. Good, more people to kick on Twitch. Constant problem with Twitch. Okay, we're having problems there. Yeah, so we're having air problems here. See how much air that's pushing? That's hard to see. There it is. It's doing 282 liters per second is fine. I probably need to gear it up as the thing because it's probably, when I go idle, it's probably too low. But I got all sorts of issues I got to deal with airflow here, so stand by. God damn it. Get out of the seat. So one of the reasons why these don't work as turbos is you have to be able to have them leak. If they don't leak, if they don't leak air, then you couldn't start. So what you used to have to do is have a valve, and that takes up a lot of space because a valve takes up 4 spaces unless and the valve would have to open in order for you to be able to get air in to start the engine to then make your air. So it was a pain in the ass before. Let's change some numbers here. Trying to get in the right path here for what I need. All right, let's see. I want, let's do this. Let's update this. This is looking all right right now. Let's save it. All right, what I'm going to do is bring in my loco. So I'd say that has one of my best running 3 cylinders on the ground. Let's see what I have for air. I don't even know if I'm pumping air on this one. I must be. Right, there's fuel. Here's air. All right, air is... Oh, yeah, air is absolutely being turboed. Right there. All right, so what I want to check is I want to check the... Loco T-bis. And valve timer. D6 electrical panel. All right, let's just do this so I can find out what the hell I'm trying to do here. Right there. Just trying to find the PID values here for this engine. All right, where the hell is Stoic? Nope, that's not it. That is engine. Okay, that's got to be it. Where's air and fuel? Okay, they're over here. That's why. There is basics modular right here. Okay. That's what we're looking for. All right. I got 365. Okay, these are the engine numbers I'm running. 0.02, we got some I value in there. That's good. All right, let's try these numbers, see how those numbers work for me. Why is it going to stall? Probably needs a little bit of a higher p-value in there. I gotta tune these in. Yeah, it's a little slow, so let's go ahead and start tuning those in. I'll work those, and then I need to know what they are presently, so let's take a picture of that. Okay, so I got a 0.02, the I value is 0005, and then I got nothing for the D at the moment. All right, good. All right, that's good, and then we can go ahead and we'll start with those numbers and play with it. So. All right. So what was it? I already forgot. Let me move. 0.02 0005. 0.02 0005. 0.02. Alright, let's change some things here. Be a pain in the ass to do this one here. Now let's do as much heavy lifting as we can with the p-value, and then we'll move from there. Now what do we got in there? We got 0.2. So the idle is, you see it's dipping. My set point is 3.5, so... Alright, let's go ahead and check some more 3x3s I got running here. Let's save this for now. And then I check some more 3x3s and see what I'm using for values, just so I don't have to waste time retuning something. Let me see. I have some I thought I had a 3x3. Here's a steam gen. No, where the hell is the... Listen here, buddy, sit down. I'm trying to find... I had a 3x3 somewhere. All right, here's my 3x3 mod. Fuck, that's too big. I gotta move bases here. Move bases. I gotta, most of my 3x3s are in boats, so I'd have to launch boats to see what I'm using for values instead of wasting my time retuning something that I've already tuned before. All right. I've also got another vehicle I can check too, so let's see. Okay, this one, let's see. So it could also be the drill loading causing the problem, so I gotta play with that. So I gotta see if it's a load problem or not, so I could disconnect some load to check that. Because right now, this one here is pretty much the exact same setup. It's a 3.5, 15 RPS. This came off my stormworks basics, definitely I can tell. 0.18 p-value is all I got in there. So let's go ahead and we'll spawn this and see how it runs. So that's running at 3 RPS. That's sitting dead idle. That's running really well. I don't know why we're having problems here. Peller pump's putting in a good bit of air. So it could be a load problem. I don't know. Because, like, look how dead stable that is, so. And the large impeller pump's doing a stable airflow now of 283. We're doing 10 RPS output. So I don't know why this one's having so many problems. Yeah, you can see this one's running really well. Got 60 atmospheres of air, so it has as much air as it will ever need and can take. My tanks are ventilated, so it's definitely not that. Huh. Yeah, this one's running dead solid. Got more, it has, you know what, I wonder if it's an exhaust problem and I need more exhaust. Let's play with that. Because this is running dead solid. No problems. That one's running really well with just 0.18, which I've run in the past, and that's why I was kind of wondering if I was going to have to screw around with it. Let's baseline this again. We know now that that should be fine. I've got another 3x because I haven't worked a 3x in a while. So that should work. We've got the impeller in there giving ample air. It should have, you know, it's got free flow to air. I'm gonna just cut a couple blocks. Oh, I gotta fix that. All right, crap. So I think it might be an exhaust problem. We'll screw around with that in a second here. All right, so it's sitting pretty stable. So see, this is getting unstable. And I'm thinking it's an exhaust problem still, maybe. Because you see how much exhaust I had on there? And these are... God damn it, if I could get up on the ladder and stay up on the ladder. You can see how... You can't really tell here. We got to go down under here. Check this exhaust manifold here. You'll see it goes like exhaust on and off. See, it goes on and off, and then exhaust. So I think this is having an exhaust problem. So let's go ahead and... Let's leave those numbers because we know they're working. And I'm going to put as much exhaust in as I can in here. And so this is the nice thing too, is I can't click on those now. So what we should be able to do is this. Let's grab some exhaust manifolds. Let's do symmetry and grab exhaust manifolds. How about that? Okay, we get some extra, 2 more exhaust manifolds on there, and then we're going to grab fluid ports. And again, people were asking, why did the devs, like, you know, what's the point of cats if you can just do what I'm going to do here in a second? Because it's a choice. And what do you want? Not have choices? But you can click this and go spawn particles. So you can shut off exhaust if you want. So one of the benefits of this is you can shut off exhaust somewhere else in your build and then put fake exhaust pipes if you wanted. You know, so that was another good feature the devs added recently. All right, so let's see if I can get rid of all the exhaust, because I think that's my problem is exhaust. Because what's happening is the exhaust is not getting out, and then it backs up and the engine can't run properly, is what I'm thinking. So that's already more stable, I think. Let's rev it up some. No, we're having oscillations now. I really don't understand this other engine. It was perfect. Making a terrible noise, too. He's doing it again. Be nice if he shut up the sound, too. Yeah, I think it's an exhaust problem. You can hear it, it's, yeah, I think it's an exhaust problem. Cats, stop fighting. Don't do that. Trying to come up with a solution to this here. Just, the two of you need to stop. Let's put on actual exhaust pipes and see what happens. I'm thinking it's an exhaust problem. But yeah, I think it was a great addition by the devs to make it so we can just shut off particles now. So if you don't like the particles, you just shut them off. All right, you don't have to... It makes it easy. It makes it easy to customize things how you want it. And again, I think that's fantastic. But you know, as usual, you get people complaining about the absolute nothings they complain about. What's the point of cats if you want to use them? Real simple. That's the point of cats. And I still like the look of them. I still like them, you know. And they're like, when you take out cats, like, no, they shouldn't take out cats. They should just, people should use what they want to use and don't use what you don't want to use. Real super duper simple. The other thing, too, is I don't think the exhaust makes that noise. I wasn't going to leave those, but... We can also try to pump out exhaust. I don't like doing that if I don't have to. What the fuck? It's oscillating again. Alright, so let's see if it has to do with the drill. Alright, so we saw with the exhaust still doing it. If I go like this, I don't even need to go like that. Let's go. Just do it in here. I'm gonna get rid of the linkage to the drill, and we'll see if that gets rid of this problem, because that will tell me it's the drill causing me problems, if that is what it is. So, process of elimination. Nope, it's not the drill. It's not the exhaust. So I'm gonna write down some things I'm checking off my list here, so we know what it isn't, because that's just as important as what it is, what it isn't. All right, so the problem is not. It's not the PID values. All right, it's not the PID values. It's not exhaust. Could be air. It's not the drill. All right, so those are the things it's not. It could be air. All right, because the P values are now what they were on the build that I know is working. The idle is the same. That's the same. Engine output is fine there. All these numbers are the same. All right, so let's try this. Go back. Let's go to the... All right, so let's go to this... Where is it? Was it under test? Where the hell was it? It was that 3x3 I just had. I forgot what I called it. What the hell did I call that 3x3? That was from 2021. We're not playing with that. Oh my god, if I could remember the name of that, that'd be great. That's it. 3x3 modular. I did 3x3 and it didn't come up. All right, let's grab this. Let's go through this and see if there's anything that interests me. Got a large impeller on there, but I don't think that's part of it. It has a lot more exhaust. That's a 3-cylinder. The one that I have in there. Is it 3-cylinder? I think it's a 3-cylinder. Exhaust is a possibility. I don't think it is, though. Fuel venting. I'm venting my fuel. I could do a quick fuel test. We'll do that before we rip it apart. Yeah, let's test that out. But this is up to 60. It was running much better with air, so it very well could be an air problem. But I've got that, microcontroller, so where is it? Here it is. Let's put that up there. Let's do real quick, like, let's not change anything right now, and let's just do a micro change and see if that runs it. Cut out this block here to make sure this is getting airflow. Let's test it real quick, make sure it wasn't that airflow problem right there, because that's in a weird spot. I think it's not getting enough air. the hell? I know that's annoying noise. Here, let me get rid of game volume for a second. Okay. Literally was running fine when I had those blocks in place. What the fuck? Put those blocks back. Here, let's load it up again. Try to run it. I want this. Fucking move. Jesus Christ. I'm just going to put a block here, and it should not be that, but let's check it. Yeah. What the hell is different here? Why is this not running at all now? If it resets, electric that off. If it fuels off, okay. Alright, so this one starts. This one should have rev up problems. Yep, it does. Okay. This one does not. This one does have the impeller, but it starts. I must have deleted something I didn't mean to see. Like, that's where the air intake is. That's got to be fixed. All right, let's try something. The other thing is get rid of that fluid port and put in a because that had a filter on it. I doubt that's the problem, but let's. And turn game audio back on. Okay. I had it off when we were when it was making the starter noise. All right, it's having a problem. All right, let's go ahead and start fixing some stuff here. All right, so one thing I'm going to do here real quick is I want to make sure it's not just an engine problem that I can quickly get rid of here. So let's do this. Okay, that is facing the correct direction. That's fine. The other side here, that is. Just make sure. I want to make sure that's facing the right direction. Should be. Let's see. Yeah, that's definitely facing the right direction. Okay, I do have an air filter on there. I have a large imp on there. It could be airflow for the fuel tanks. Kind of doubt it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick direct draw on fuel. So just throwing stuff against the wall, seeing if it sticks here. And then we're going to do a gas relief valve, fluid port. All right, let's go ahead and test that. So this will tell us if it's a fuel issue, which I don't really think it is, but maybe it is. Okay. So it's definitely not a fuel issue. Okay, that's fine. So process of elimination here. We're working it. That's off. Okay. So it's not that. I think it's an air issue. I'm trying to decide what I want to do, if I want to test out. Let's get rid of cooling for right now. I really need to put to bed, is this an exhaust problem? Because that's the other one that it could be. And I want to just really quickly make sure this is not an exhaust problem. So it could very well be that. So I want to try to knock off anything it could be. Because that exhaust is still making me think it's an exhaust problem because of the way it oscillates. Because it's one of the values that's oscillating with it is that. All right, let's run that. That's got a lot of exhaust pipes now. Let's see if that will run it. All right. And then what we'll do is if this is not it, we'll revert it. We'll put a different microcontroller on. We'll test that. See if it's the micro. There's something that I screwed up in there. Okay. Because that test bench, the 3x3 test bench, yeah, you see how it's having problems again? The 3x3 test bench, you know, was revving like a champ, and it was dead solid. This one, as you can see, it's having exhaust problems. I don't know why. It's having AFR problems. All right, let's do this. Let's bring back, we're going to keep going back to the original model here, this 945 model. And that way I can test things by things. So let's go ahead, actually we'll do 3x3. Let's see if it's a microcontroller issue. All right. Doesn't really matter where it's connected, but so let's just see if it's a microcontroller issue that I don't have done right. The fuck is the battery? Right. No, where's the battery? Battery is right. Where the hell is the battery? Right there. That is alternators. Coolant pump. Starters. Those are fucking gearboxes. God damn it. That's not what I want to do. Starter. Okay. Radiator fan. Okay, that should do it. Alright, just tell me if it's the microcontroller. Alright, so it's not the microcontroller. Alright. Pull this out, and so one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete off the cylinder heads and then put the whole engine back together and see if it's like sometimes they get bugged. I don't know what the deal is, but we're going to do that. All right, we're going to do this. And then we're going to rebuild it. I've been seeing a ton of people like not orienting the parts correctly. That was in the first episode of my videos. So just go check that out. Orient your parts correctly. If you don't orient your parts correctly, they're not going to work. The other thing too is, see this hole here? This is what passes fuel, exhaust, air through these cylinders. That's why if you have that like in this orientation, it passes it all along, and you don't need to have manifold pieces connecting each cylinder. Let's merge those up. All right. So we got those all in. Those are all in. All right. Sometimes this works. It fixes it. We'll see. I doubt it, but... Alternator is the same. Starter should be the same. Coolant pump, I don't need. RPS can go off the crank. Those the same. That's the same. Yeah, it reminds you of the multiplayer fishing mine. Yeah. It doesn't help if I don't hook the RPS node back in to know what I'm doing here. So let's go back here. This is one of the reasons, like, most of my microcontrollers for engines at this point are all based off the stormworks basics tutorial. And they're pretty much, they come from that, so that I can tell that if people are struggling with getting their builds working after that tutorial, I've got like 900 examples of it working fine, you know? Okay, so far this looks like a parts glitch. It's 100% a parts glitch. Alright. Yeah, something was up. Something got glitched with the engine because all I did was literally replace the engine. And it worked. So... you see, it's stable as hell right now. Let's go see if the drill's turning. I think it is. I can't tell, though. Yep, drill's turning fine. So that's all it was it was a glitch. Yeah, this works perfectly now. It was just some part got glitched. That happens from time to time. It's frustrating. It was frustrating me. But I don't know. It could have been a corrupted part in a save. You don't know. So, but like, see, it's solid as a rock now. All right, so let's go over the speeds here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my trim all the way up to 1, and I want to write down these speeds now that they're stable. So let's see, loader speeds. All right, currently it's 3.11. These are meters per second. Shifting to gear 2. Something's wrong with gear 2. Oh, I went down. I put it in neutral. Never mind. Normally I do up, down. I'm doing it as 1, 2, and I screwed it up. So there's 2. Is 3.73 meters per second. Here's 3. is 4.66. There's 4. 5.6. There's 5. It's a 5-speed. And so one of the reasons why, like, you don't want this to be too fast. Let me write down the speed. 7.01. And that's top gear. All right, so you don't want something like this to be too fast. And the reason is, see how we're turning? The way these articulated loaders turn, it's a good way to turn over. And then if you put the center of gravity up high, you see how unstable it becomes. And so you don't want these going too fast in real life, and you don't want them to go too fast in game. And the only reason why this isn't completely tipping over is it's got a rocket motor down there with a good bit of weight, so it's got a really good low center of gravity. And this is how a lot of games do it, in my understanding of, like, you know, you can't tip vehicles over, they tip themselves up. Is essentially what they do is they put a fake weight super low down, essentially underground. And so, like a pendulum, it always wants to stay upright, and that's why, like, you'll get vehicles that can't tip over in some of those games. And so, like, see this sort of stuff, that would really happen in real life. You start shaking your bucket, you're going to really upset the loader. And that's a phantom force of... So, see, this is doing phantom forces now because I'm jamming blocks into one another. And people are like, oh, they should fix the physics, you know, you got a boat spinning. You're putting two objects inside of one another. There is no code for that. In real life, you bang two pieces of metal together with hydraulics, you're going to dent the metal. Something's going to give. You're going to snap the pin for the hydraulic linkage. You're going to blow a hydraulic line. You're going to bend the metal. You're going to snap the metal. And so that force can go somewhere. In game, they can't code all that. They can't code all... Well, they could. They could code they have to code a hydraulic line snap, braking, a piston bending, metal bending. They don't have all that in there, and they can't add all that in. They're not going to add all that in there. And so what do you get? You get phantom forces, and every game has this because they have to make decisions of what they're going to add, what they're not going to add, what's going to add to it, what's not. And so you get phantom forces in every game. All right, but this is running really well. So I do get when people get frustrated with stuff like this. I was getting frustrated myself because it was just a build issue. Or it was a glitch because all I did literally was delete the cylinder heads, delete the crankshafts. I could have probably just deleted the cylinder heads, and it was working fine. So that's working well now. What I might do is this. Let's do this. Let's go back to here to brains. And I like brains because it's just easy to mine. Alistair asked where he can do the drilling. I might just tell him to do it here so it's easy for him. You know, as somebody who's done many challenges myself, I know how frustrating it can be to like have to make the videos because they take forever, and he's doing some steps that I think will help with that, which I think is good. And so, like, one of the things is good is, like, he asked people, hey, where do you want me to test your builds, which I think is a great thing to do. Because you need people to tell you how they want you to operate their build. And it's one of the things that I used to find frustrating when I would run challenges, or I did the what the hell did I call it? The build review channel was, you know, you need to tell me how you want it done. And if you don't, and then I do something wrong, it's on you. It's not on me, right? Because I'm guessing. You know how you want your machine run. And that's why, like, every piece of equipment that's made commercially, what do they have? An instruction manual. And you're supposed to read the instruction manual. And one of the points of that is it covers them that when you operate the machine incorrectly, it's on you, man. It's not on them. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to rev it up. All right. And we have a counter here. And I'm going to bring out my stopwatch. I'm going to go to that stopwatch, and as soon as it starts counting, I'm going to click start. And as soon as it hits 81, which is the max capacity, I'm going to hit stop. There we go. And this is going to see how long it takes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune in the gear ratio on the drill. Now, about a 5 RPS is really, really good. And so the drill is always turning when this is on, essentially. And it's using up power from the vehicle. That's why I have a 3x3 in here. Normally I would have put a 1x1, but to run the drill I need a lot of power, a lot of torque. And so this is running around 13.46 RPS. And I've got it down geared, so the drill is running maybe around 5. Okay, so about 42 seconds. So let's see, test 1, T1 equals 42. And if you heard the drill stopped, as soon as this hits is greater than 80, it stops. And so that's just so that it, and you see how the RPS went up? This is another good example. You'll see people, oh, it doesn't make any sense. You know, I put in the clutch and the engine starts to slow down. It makes perfect sense, right? Just like if I were to add weight while you're doing a bicep curl, right? Your bicep curl would get slower because you can't do the curl as fast with more weight. If I took weight off, your bicep curl would get faster, right? And so what we're essentially doing, that's load. And so when we take off load by essentially disconnecting the drill, if we look in here, I disconnected the drill, right? So the drill is load gone, speed goes up, right? You're taking load off the engine. All right, so that took about 42 seconds to fill. All right, and let's look at this gear setup. So I'll show you how the drill works. So we have the clutch here. This is the main clutch. This main clutch is being fed a 1. So if we look at right here, this is just constant number 1. So the power always goes through. And that's so the drill can always spin, or we always have access to the drill. So that goes up. It comes up here, and it branches off 2 ways. One, it goes to transmission for actually driving this. The other way is it comes up here, and it goes straight ahead. This is the supercharger here. But it goes straight ahead, and it goes to a clutch. This clutch is for the drill. The only time the drills don't run is there's a couple conditions here. The drills don't run when it's greater than 80 and when we're starting. And that's just because it would take longer for you to be able to start the engine because it has to also, your starters are spinning the drill. So your starters have to also be able to spin the drill. And so that's going to take you longer. So it disconnects the drill when you're starting and when you fill it up. And that's just so it's not dumping a bunch of ore everywhere. All right. And also when you're in reverse. So when it drives in reverse, right, the drill stops. And the reason is really simple. The drill has mass, right? So it has momentum. So as the drill is turning, say, clockwise, right, the head of the drill weighs something, right? Force is mass times acceleration. So even if the drill head didn't weigh very much, if it's moving really fast, it has a lot of momentum. Well, when you shift into reverse, right, the drill is turning clockwise. And now you're saying, hey, drill, turn counterclockwise. Actually, I fixed that, so that's actually not going to cause that problem anymore. I fixed that, so that's not going to cause that problem anymore. So I could get rid of this if I want, but in reverse, the drill doesn't run. Because let's say you had it connected after the engine, or after reverse. When you go backwards, now it's saying, hey, drill, go backwards. And this is the same reason a lot of people don't get why their engine will stall out in a boat when they try to go from forward to reverse quickly in game. Your propeller has momentum. It's going to the right. It's going clockwise. Now you quickly want it to go counterclockwise. Well, the engine has to stop the propeller, which has a lot of momentum, and then get it going the other way. And so that's difficult, and that will put a lot of load on the engine. So that's to help drop some load off. All right, and then so it goes through that clutch right here, and then it goes into a gearbox. And so if the drill is moving, so if our engine was doing what, 13 point something? It was like 13.7 was the engine RPS. So it's 13.7 engine RPS with this setup, and so it's a 3-to-1. So real simple, it's easy to do the math, right? You take 13.7 and you divide it by 3 because it's pointing away from the engine. So the drill is actually a third of the speed of the engine. That means the drill is turning at 4.56 RPS. All right. Now, if we decrease this, right? If I decrease it to 5.2, right? Real simple. 5 divided, was it 5 over 2? 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, right? So that would be 13 divided by 2.5. Now that means the drill is going to move at 5.2 RPS. That's just coincidental. 2.1 is 13 divided by 2. 6.5 RPS. Now, that's actually not going to be the case. It's not going to be the same number. So I'll do a test here in a moment. You'll say, hey, you said that if it's a 2 to 1, the drill will turn at 6.5 RPS. Why is it lower? Okay. When we have this arrow pointing away from the engine, we're saying, hey, I want less of the power to go to the drill. And as I decrease this number, I say, hey, I want more power going to the drill. Remember what I said about your arm slowing down when I add more weight, more load to it when you're doing a bicep curl, right? So what's going to happen when I make the drill take more power? It's going to put more load in the engine, slowing the engine down. So no longer is it going to be at 13.7. So let's say I go to a 5.2, and now it's at 12.5. So instead of it being, so it'll be 5 divided by 2, right? 2.5. It's going to be, let's say it's 12.5 because we're asking the drill to do more work or the engine to do more work to turn the drill faster, right? So that means the engine's going to slow down. We're loading the engine. So now it's 12.5 divided by 2.5. So instead of being like 5.2, it's going to be 5 RPS. We're going to then say we do a 2.1. We're asking even more of it, right? So instead of 12.5, let's say it's at 11.5, right? It's because we're adding more and more load to it. We divide that by 2. So now it's 5.75, right? Eventually, as you get higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, let's say we did a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So for every 1 rotation of the engine, we get 1 rotation of the drill. And that's asking a lot of work from the engine. So let's say it's a... let's say that drags the engine all the way down to say 5 RPS, right? So now it's 5 divided by 1 is 5, right? So that's actually slower than if we let the engine rev up and we did something with a more of a reduction. So let's go to a, we'll do a 5.2. All right, so what we'll see here is watch when we start it. So, or not when we start it, you won't see it when we start it, but when we start revving up, all right, so let's make some other predictions, right? So the drill is always running. Because the drill is always running, right, it's always, the engine is always trying to turn the drill, and it's always using that load. And you can already see what it's doing here. It's stalled out the engine there for a second. I got to fix the, see how the drill is taking up so much power? It's starting to stall out the engine. Now, I could change that by changing the idle. So now it's fine. It has enough momentum, enough power. But remember, so when it was at a 3.1 reduction, right, it was 13.7 divided by 3. Now it's only at a 5.2, a 2.5 to 1 gear ratio. This number should be lower, and it is. Okay, so last time it was 13.7. Now it's 13.4. All right, so let's do the math, right? So 13.4 divided by 2.5. So that's going to give us a drill speed of 5.36 RPS at the drill. Okay. So the drill is now turning faster. All right. So we're going to do all our tests here, and then I can re-evaluate the engine. Now, the other thing is the drill is always running. It's putting load in the engine. That's going to mean that when we actually have it drive the vehicle is going to be slower because it has less power to go to the wheels, which I don't have a problem with at this point. So let's go to a 2-1. All right, so again, we'll make a prediction now that we understand the relationship between power and load and how all that works. Again, I made it so that the drill is taking more power. It's going to slow down the engine even more, right? So as we rev up, we can expect to be lower. Last time it was 3.4. So the reason why that took a second is it takes a second for the drill to clutch in. And so the drill just clutched in. So our prediction is correct here, right? It went from 13.4 to 12.82, right? So 12.82 divided by 2 is now 6.41. So this is where a lot of people don't get it either, where they think it's magic and they can just keep increasing their gear ratio and it will magically just go on for infinity and give them more and more and more power. Now, of course, we would run these tiny little baby engines with, you know, huge gear ratios to run our cars. That's not how it works, right? Your baby engine makes baby power. Yes, you can get a lot of torque out of that, but eventually you're going to overload the engine, and as you add more load to the engine, it slows the engine down. Eventually you get diminishing returns. So eventually what's going to happen is as the RPS goes down, eventually you're going to bring it down so low that, so let's use the numbers we have. So at a 3-to-1, it's a 13.7 RPS. At, sorry, coughed on the mic. At a 5-2 gear ratio, it's a 13.4. At a 2-1, it's a 12.82. Let's say that at a 1-to-1, our engine's only going to be able to maintain 6 RPS, right? So 6 divided by 1 is 6. Well, currently, with a 2-to-1 gear ratio, we're able to run the drill at 6.4. So we're able to get more. And this is where I talk about, like, in my new player career build series, where I talk about making your boat go faster, is if increasing the gear ratio makes your boat go slower, the only way to get your boat to go faster at that point is to increase your power, the size of your engine. And the reason is really simple, right? Is you're trading away the torque, the power, for speed. That's taking more engine power away, and that causes your engine to slow down. Eventually, you're going to slow the engine down, where even with the multiplication effect of gearboxes, it's going to be less. And so let's go do a test here with a 2-1. And I'm going to just quickly... So some of the things you'd have to do in order to run these higher gear ratios, you saw how it was stalling, right? Because what it's doing is the engine needs a certain amount of power for itself to maintain 2 RPS to keep running. When you take that away by putting the drill on there, you need to do some things. One, you can increase your P value. That will make it so that the engine tries to maintain that rev harder. So as the load slows the engine down, it commands it to increase the throttle more quickly to overcome that. The other thing you can do is increase your idle, right? Force is mass times acceleration. So the mass of your engine is your cylinder weights, right? The cylinders, your cranks, all the components of the engine. I'm just going to rev this up. That stays static, right? That's one of the reasons why you have a flywheel. That increases the mass of your engine. So that's static. That doesn't change. What does change is the speed. That's your RPS. As you increase RPS, you make more power because that's your mass. The M of F equals MA stays the same. The A is the RPS. So if you increase your A, you're getting more force. If you decrease your A, you're getting less force, right? All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to do a quick stopwatch on this one. This here is the 2-1. So I'm going to put it down, and then as soon as it starts drilling, I'm going to... So again, we're running slower, 12.81, because we're putting more power to the drill. So as soon as it starts collecting, I'm going to hit the start button. All right. So prediction: the RPS is going faster, and because the RPS is going faster, we should hit our capacity more quickly. And so it should take us less time to drill this ore. Last time was 42.84 seconds. We're halfway through. And so let's pay attention for this. All right, we're getting close. All right, 34. So 34. And so it makes sense if you think about it, right? because... Oh, that was down here. Shit. 4.57. So on the first one, it was, I think, like 4 point something RPS. So we're almost doing, let's say, I wouldn't say double. Let's say, I don't know, 40% faster drill. And so that looks pretty good. We've dropped off 8 seconds to do it. So let's go up a couple here. Let's go to a 3-2. All right, so real simple. We'll make another prediction, right? Let's do, I got to write these down. That's a 3-1. That's a 5-2. That's a 2-1. Now we're going to do a 3-2. All right, so prediction. We're giving more power to the engine. That's going to cause the engine, more load to the engine. That's going to cause it to slow down. RPS is going to go down. The RPS of the drill is likely still going to go up. The time to finish drilling is going to be quicker. And the speed of the vehicle to turn the wheels is going to be slower. So we're going to drive slower. Again, I don't have a problem with that. And I'll fix this idle. This won't be a problem. So you see, see how, watch it drop down. It's going to... So what's happening right now is it's adding clutch. And it's slowing down the drill. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to push that up for now. Now you notice it's it did the starter. The reason why it goes up to 14 and then comes back is because it's, as soon as the starter hits, it zeroes out the clutch to the drill, and then as soon as it gets above, it restarts again. It starts adding the clutch, so it puts load on the engine. All right, so now we're down to 11.52. All right, now let's multiply that. So real simple, we can figure out the RPS of the drill, right? So it's 3 divided by 2 because that's the gear ratio. That's a 1.5. So 11.52 divided by 1.5 is 7.68 is the RPS of the drill. But notice how much the RPS went down. It went down quite a bit. And so eventually we're going to get that point where it's diminishing returns, where it doesn't actually work for us anymore. What I did there is I just killed the throttle lock is all I did. Alright, so I'm going to actually go to a different node, and the reason is we're probably getting pretty close to killing that node. So now, remember our first, when we had the 3-to-1 gear reduction on there, our speed was 3.11 meters per second, right? It's now 2.5, so we've lost about 0.6 meters per second, which I'm happy with. I don't mind slowing it down. I actually want to slow the vehicle down because it makes it easier to drive slowly. And so that's because we're taking power, we're stealing power from the drive, and we're putting it to the drill. So these are all predictions you can make if you understand the fundamentals of how all this works, and then you can better design your systems, right? All right, so we're going to bring up the stopwatch again. So prediction on this, right? It's going to be quicker to drill, right? We have a higher speed on there. So let's go ahead, and as soon as I put it down, it starts drilling. We will start it. All right, here we go. Just going to take a little bit of pressure off it. All right, we're already halfway at 7-8 seconds, so we're talking maybe 16 seconds to drill this all up. Actually, we're not at half. Never mind. I was thinking of a quarter there for a second. All right, here we come. All right, 32 seconds. So we gained 2 more seconds to get that. So 32.12. All right, so max speed now is 7 point, actually we're doing better. Oh, that's because the drill's off. Never mind, the drill's off. That's why we're able to go faster. because we're not turning the drill. Now again, notice the hoppers do weigh something when there's ore in here. Notice how I can drive real fast. I can switch directions. It doesn't tip over. Look at the center of gravity goes up by even a little bit. Notice how it changes the driving character. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing here. Watch how it changes the driving characteristics. Because not only is it bringing that bucket up higher, it's also moving it further away from the center of gravity. That straightens it out. That brings it up higher and makes the center of gravity up higher. And again, that's why I have that rocket motor in there to do the glitch. Because notice, it's very hard to tip over. Now, for me, I would just drive like a safe operator, and I wouldn't be doing silly shit like driving fast and have my bucket up like a dummy, right? But this is going to be for a challenge. This is going to be for other people to be able to use. And so I don't want them getting frustrated all the time with their build tipping over. Right, and so this is kind of makes it a little bit more user-friendly to make it where you can, put your bucket up, turn. Yes, you're tilting, but you're not actually tipping over and ruining your fun. All right. I think that's fast enough. Let's go up again. Let's go up 2 more. Let's try it at a 1-to-1. A 1-to-1 is pretty much, I don't think I'm going to multiply it out. So what we'll do is test it. This is going to be tough. This is going to really start to take the power down. All right, I'm going to rev it up. And so the clutch is going to go in, right? So as the clutch goes into the drill, it's going to really take a lot of power. You see how much power it's taking away? This is getting to the point where where we're getting diminishing returns. It's actually going to be kind of cool. Watch, it cannot power this drill at... Because notice, see how the RPM keeps going down? So we're actually making less drill RPS than we were before by down gearing it. So that's why when people are like, oh, I up geared it, and it's going slower. It doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. You just don't understand the fundamentals of it. So I think 3.2 is probably where we're going to settle at. Because it just can't turn the drill, and it's ruined it. So 3.2 is pretty good. Let's do that. All right, and now we're going to... let's see. There's a couple things we can do. One, we can increase the p-value. Let's do that. Increasing the p-value, again, what it's going to do is the engine's going to be less willing to let that value go down. It's going to say, hey, the value is going down. I need to increase my throttle. So what we're going to do here is... I don't need that. The battery, RPS. Let's add a p-value node on here. And 0.18, so as we increase the p-value, that should make it so that the engine tries to recover. So as the drill starts to go in, you saw it was stalling out the engine. This should make it so that the engine then revs up. It says, hey, add throttle. You're starting to slow down. Hey, add throttle more quickly. It's trying to get it to add the throttle more quickly is what it's trying to do. All right, so we'll test it again the way it was, and then we'll increase that number to try to get it to behave itself. So it was 0.18. All right, so when the drill comes in, it was causing it to stall the engine out. And so that last test you saw when I decreased the gear ratio down to a 1-to-1, and it was bringing the RPS all the way down to 3, it can't turn the drill at 3. It's not strong enough. So see how it keeps going down? The throttle is not responding fast enough. It goes down below the certain threshold, and it kicks the starter off again because it's stalling the engine. So let's go to 2.2 rather. And we'll see if it does it. Okay, let's go to... So this is one way we can do it. I might have to start putting in other numbers. We'll see. It's not going to be fast enough because the clutch goes in faster than it does. So let's do it a different way. Let's do this. Let's keep 0.18. And what we'll do is we'll increase the idle to 4. So we can increase the idle. Again, force is mass times acceleration. We increase the acceleration. We have more power to keep the drill running. All right, so I think we're going to do this actually a different way. Let's do this. Let's do this, actually. So 3.5. So I could eventually get some D value in there and everything else. I'd eventually just need to rev it up too much. And I think what I'm going to do instead is this. Let's go ahead. We'll keep it 3.5. That was working fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the drill. We can leave that. Let's go ahead. I need to go back in there. Keep it as 0.18, like that. And then we'll keep that p-value node in case I want to use it again. So that's in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a condition on here to the drill. And so the drill will only increase if the RPS is below a certain... will only increase if the RPS is over a certain value. So if the RPS is high enough on the engine, it's going to say, hey, now you can start to add some drill. How's it going there, Sant? How are you? All right, let's add that in there. Let me actually make sure I'm not going to break anything. Okay, I won't. All right, so let's make that wider. Let's add another logic node to the drill. That's going to be a number input. That's RPS. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll take that RPS off of the engine. And if the RPS is over a certain value, it's going to start to add the clutch in. If it's not over that value, it's not going to add the clutch. And we do the same thing with the clutch for the vehicle. I'll show that to you here real quick. Let's look at that. So if you look when the auto clutch happens, if you watch the auto clutch, here's the auto clutch, right? The auto clutch doesn't engage till 3.5. So I actually have to rev up to get it to move. The clutch isn't going to engage. That's what you do IRL. You rev up the engine, then you slowly start to let off the clutch. Your vehicle has enough power to go forward. And we're going to do the same thing here. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to slow this down even more. It's 0.001. We're going to make it take even longer to ramp up. So I wanted that 1. I might have just screwed some. I'm doing too much different, but let's do that. That's fine. And then, so we're going to put another condition here. If the RPS is... I had one right there. If the RPS is greater than... All right, X. All right, X or Y or Z or W. If the RPS is greater than, and what we'll do is we'll do another property number. This is going to be RPS cut in. So clutch, we'll do clutching. All right, RPS clutching. So as soon as the RPS goes above 4, that's when it's going to start to clutch in. And then it will clutch in now at a slower, clutch in at 1/10 of the speed, so it'll be even slower at in clutch. I also made the clutch a full value of 1, which it should be anyway. All right, good. So now this should sit at idle and shouldn't stall out. We hope. Because what's happening is it's starting to say, hey, run the drill. And the problem is it can't run the drill at that low of an idle. It just can't do it. And so now it should sit here at idle nicely, which as you can see it is. And then as I rev up, you'll hear the drill start to come in slowly. So let's just go right above 4. And so once it hits 4, it's going to start clutching in slowly. And watch, you'll see the RPS go down because what's going to happen is it's going to eventually put too much clutch to the drill, and that's going to cause it to reduce the clutch on the drill. Because it's going to, by putting the drill on, it's going to drag that RPS too low. Let's see, are we there yet? Not putting the clutch in yet. Might have that too slow right now. Let's do this. That's probably too slow. Let's go to... RPS there, that's good. That's all merged. Alright, so now when it gets above 4 RPS, it should start to clutch in. I'm going to see if it will clutch in more quickly. Now this is going to change the numbers too. I had a slipping clutch, which I don't like. Before it was only went up to 0.7. Now it'll go up to 1, which it should be. Alright, so why is it clutching in now? Should not be clutching in. Yeah, see, it shouldn't be clutching in. I gotta see, what the fuck? Why is that? Oh, if the RPS is less than, this should be a less than, that's why. Alright, if the RPS is less than that, that's why. Alright. RPS is less than 4, it will deactivate the clutch. What I might do is make it so that I'll put a condition so that it completely zeroes out the clutch to save it from stalling the engine out. And then I'll also make it so it just reduces the clutch so that if we're at low power settings, it will still have the drill running, but it'll have it running very slowly. And so as the drill gains the capability to be spinning faster, it will then add more clutch. That makes sense. I think I'll do that. All right. So let's go just gently above 4. And you notice it will clutch in the drill. And so watch what will happen as the drill clutches in. See how it's ticking down? And it's causing the RPS to go down. And then notice it, as soon as it dropped below 4, the needle went back up. Because what it did was it said, hey, drill, you're using too much power. It removed the clutch. The clutch was no longer engaged, and then it allowed it to recoup the energy. All right, so watch. See how it dropped down? It clutched the drill in. Let's see what that looks like on the drill. You'll see the drill start to move, then stop. There it goes. It was spinning up, and now let me see if I can get the RPS of the drill. God damn it. So watch. It will start to spin up the drill again as soon as it gets over 4. It will start to increase the drill. There it goes. And then as soon as it goes under 4, it decreases the drill. All right, let's go in here and we'll make this a little bit more interesting here. So there are a couple of situations where I want this to reset the counter, shut the counter off. One is the starter. That's the main one. When the starter is on and the drill, these two here, should shut it completely off. So what I'm going to do is grab this Boolean. Okay, so started there. And we'll do reverse as well. Because reverse, so again, I'm trying to make this somewhat seem realistic. So you're not going to be picking up material in your bucket when you're going backwards, right? You're going to actually be probably losing material. Some depends if you tip it. But you're not going to be picking up material when your bucket is going backwards, right? So reverse should not let the drill work. So reverse should also cause the drill to shut off, say, hey, you can't drill going backwards. The other one is when the drill is full, I want the drill to stop, all right? Completely. It can just shut it right off. All right, so all those can go right here to the reset. That will make the clutch instantly 0, okay? So all of these can go, those shut it all down. All right, now if the RPS is less than 4, all I want it to do is to reset, to decrease the clutch slowly. If the RPS is greater than 4, I want it to increase the clutch slowly. So real simple like that. That's all we need there. So that's good. All right, good. So this is all set up there. So that runs a little bit better. So what this will allow it to do is, if you watch, let's start it up. So when it starts, the clutch will be 0. When we're in reverse, the clutch will be 0. But when we get above 4, now what you were noticing before was the clutch would start to go in. It would start to, as soon as it dropped below 4, it instantly made the clutch 0, and it popped back up again. Then it went below 4, shut the drill off, popped up. So the drill was essentially like an on-off switch. It went on, off, on, off. What this is going to do is it's going to let the drill turn very, very slowly, because it's only going to put in as much clutch as the RPS can sustain. So let's go ahead and we'll go to just over 4. All right, so just over 4. Let's go, I think we were 4.1 there last time. I'm trying to get the same. All right, so I'm going to try to get it right where, so watch. See how it's oscillating back and forth, and it's because it's going to keep that drill turning the whole time. So the drill will, it will eventually find an equilibrium where, see how before the drill would slow down to 0.1 RPS? Now it's staying higher because it's found the place where the engine is powerful enough to keep it running. All right, so that works pretty well. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to see if I'm going to keep streaming or not. Let me just quickly do this. All right, I will be, let me put up my be right back screen, and then I'll figure out if I'm going to come back. All right, guys, I'll be back. All right, we'll keep rocking and rolling here. Let's get rid of the cover screen here. All right, nice. So now the drill will keep spinning, but at the rate it can keep spinning. All right, and um, this is why, for example, why an auto clutch works so well is you do it in real life too. You know, if you let out the clutch too fast, the car starts to stall. You push the clutch in a little bit, it now gives more power back to the engine to run, and then you're good to go. All right, so this is good. Let's save this. I'm happy with what we've done so far on this today. Let's save it over this. All right, so one thing I'm going to do is I don't want to have a button that you press to cause the bucket to dump. That's silly as far as I'm concerned. I want it to be realistic. I want you to tip the bucket and it dumps. And so essentially what you're going to do is if it tips past a certain point, it's going to trigger the tilting function, the contents to tip out of the bucket, essentially. And so let's put it right here. So that's going to cause the contents to tip out of the bucket. Actually, I don't want it right there. Actually, I need to put something else right there. So let's go right here's fine. I have to put something right there. So we're going to go like that. All right, and then what I'm going to do is, do I have a dial I can use that's not being used by something else? What's this? That is the fill level. Okay, we're going to keep that for now. I might use that again for something. I just need a readout on that tilt sensor. All right, good. So that's going to give me a readout on the tilt sensor, and when it reaches a certain amount of tilt, I want it to dump the ore so that it's not like, oh, push button, make dump. It will be tilt past a certain point, make dump. So like you would in real life, right? And that will also mean that if you're going down a hill, right, it's going to tip the bucket out. So you have to make sure, just as you would in real life, as you go down a hill, you need to tilt the bucket back more so stuff doesn't pour out. So let's see. All right, so that's about where I want it. And that's reading, now it's important to do the page up because notice it shows 0.3. It could be rounding. So once it's greater than once it is less than negative 0.03. So less than negative, I think I might do negative 0.29 because the fear is, again, somebody's on a hill and they don't get that, oh, it's not going to dump right. So I got to put that on the workshop page to explain that, to make sure that Alistair doesn't think that, oh, crap, it's not working. Right, the other thing I want to do is this. Some point. All right, let's see. Bucket dump. All right, bucket tilt dump. All right, and so it's going to have two logic nodes real quick. It's going to have a number input. That's going to be the tilt sensor. Tilt sensor. And then it's going to have a Boolean out, and that's going to be dump. All right, so we're going to put a... all right, if the tilt sensor reads less than a certain number, it will dump. And that number, we're going to put a property number so we can tune it in more easily. So this is tilt threshold. Negative 0.29. So as soon as it goes 0.29 or less, it should dump this. So we're going to update that. We're going to take the tilt sensor. And we're going to go ahead and put the dump on here. All right, good. So those are all on there, and that will dump it. And then what I'm going to do just for now is put a light. This is a good way to test things. You just put a light here, and this will make it so that it tells you, hey, it's working, it's not working. So that will also trigger the light. So this way I don't have to actually crawl in the bucket and see if it's actually working. The light will come on. All right, so we have no light, no light, no light. And then as we tip it, it should be on. Oh, it's 0.03, that's why. So it needs to be 0.029. Is it? Let me see. All right, so as soon as it reaches that threshold, it's gonna cause it to dump. And then, of course, that's well beyond it there, right? So that's going to dump. As we bring it up, it's going to dump. Now, let's fire it up, and I'll show you what I mean. This is something that when you're running equipment like this, you need to make sure that you tip the bucket back when you're going downhill, because if you're on a hill, right, the bucket's going to tip the stuff out. So I'm not going to change the bucket. I'll leave it where it is. And you'll notice when we go down this hill, though, it's going to get to the threshold where, hey, you're going downhill, you're going to spill stuff out of your bucket. So it makes it more realistic. So like we're going uphill, right? So look, it's even less likely that stuff's going to tip out the bucket as we're going uphill. But then we turn around, we get downhill. Now it's going to tilt as we go downhill, and it's going to be might spill stuff out of the bucket. That's probably not enough. So like, all right, I got to tip the bucket more because it's not going to even reach the threshold going down the hill. But watch what we'll do. I'll make it so that going down the hill, the light just comes on for a dump. And then when we level off, you'll notice it stopped. All right, so let's tilt it till it comes on. Okay, so there we go. So that would tip down, and then as we go on the flat, it should bring it back up, and see how it goes away when we go flat. And now the bucket angle hasn't changed, but now that I'm going uphill, the light went off. Because now we're at an angle where the stuff would stay in the bucket, so. And now as we go downhill again, right, we're going to get that angle, and bingo, all the stuff would fall out of our bucket. So what do you do in real life? You tilt the bucket back as you go down a hill like this. All right, so I got to run some numbers here. Let's see, right about there. All right, let's run some numbers here. So we got to look at this robotic pivot here. We're going to see where it is. Negative 0.22. All right, let's see. Bucket. Negative 0.22. Okay. And then pretty much the full range the other way is fine. All right, and I gotta go check it. So I need to put a clamp in here. 1. Okay, that's gonna be to 1. Arms should be, I think the arms may not be fine. I gotta check the arms. So let's check the arms. So this will now stop when we hit this point here. So it doesn't actively, see how I can force it into the arms? I don't want to be able to have clippage or force it into anything. And then these, I need to make sure that I'm not collapsing the pistons. So that's actually, or hitting the tires. So I want to make sure they don't hit the tires. So right about there is going to be where it's going to not hit the tires and have an acceptable gap. And then full height is fine. So that is showing negative 0.02. Or is it? Yeah, negative 0.02. So let's see, arms. Negative 0.0221. Where's the drill? Drill is in the bucket. Drill is right here. That's the drill right there. So. All right, so that's the arms. What else did I need to do? Steering, so let's do that. All right, we'll bring it back and let's work on some of the stuff. Let's see. Arms controller. Let's just do this for now, and I'll make it smaller if I need to. Composite input seat. Composite input seat. We want to have number output arms. How's it going, Variante? How are you? And Jack, how are you? Arms. We want to do bucket. Bucket. All right, that's good. Do I need anything else? Steering. I might make this the main controller. So I might save that. Let's keep adding to it. All right, that's good. All right, so let's see. Let's see. AD is 1. So that's going to go to steering. Then we have 3 and 4. All right, and then the bucket should be 3. Buckets 3, arms are 4. All right, good. And then I got to put in clamps. All right, let's see. All right, so that's going to be the steering controller. And I'm going to do the same type of thing here. And then those will be the clamps out. So that's steering there. Got to clamp those out. All right, so we have some of these values. Bucket is going to be negative 0.22 to 1. Arms is going to be Was arms negative 0.02. All right, there we go. So steering, I got to figure out. Drill, where's steering controller? Right here. 3232 on that one. That one's symmetrical. Okay, that's symmetrical there. All right, that is going to be steering. That's going to be the bucket control. So the other cool thing, too, is like, you know, I see a lot of people, they're having struggles with cranes and everything else. Your game should always, your game physics, if you want it to behave properly, should always be set to high, right here. And so the only thing actively tilting the bucket is this one pivot here. That's it. This is not doing anything. This is letting the RPS go through. This is just a bearing. That's the actual power. And it works fine. These two here are the only thing making these arms go up and down. These are just for show. These have zero power. Zero. So that's the only thing making these arms go up are these two pivots. All right. And I like, you know, people say add weight. Sure, add weight if you need to. But I don't have any added weight on these arms. None. There's no added weight on there, and it worked perfectly fine. A huge part of that problem is people, they run their game at low physics or lower than they should be physics, and it doesn't work. You've got to run the game on high if you want it to behave properly. All right, let's do reset 100%. This is going to be, left, right is going to be bucket. Up, down is going to be reset 100%. That's going to be arms. Okay, there we go. Park brake. Shift up. Shift down. Start's going to go somewhere different, but for now, that's start, stop. All right. All right, this should have everything set up. So one of the things is the steering's going to be better now because what it was doing is it was letting me count all the way up to 1 and then let me count all the way down to -1 on steering, but I clamped it. If you just did a clamp and you don't do what I'm doing with the up-down counter, what's going to happen is the you have lag in it. So when you try to steer back the other direction, it's going to take a while because it has to go from, say, -1 all the way past 0.32 and then back. Now you'll notice my steering's more responsive. I can go... Okay, steering's not working at all. Okay, it's just slow. I got to increase the rate. And when I want to go back the other way, I got to increase the rate on all these. Let's do that. 0.001. Let's try 10 times faster and see if I like it. Like certain things like we used to do and with front loaders is you would shake the bucket to get like stuff to fall into it or flick into it. And so you kind of wanted that one to be a little fast. You want the arms to move a little bit slow because you don't want, like if you could see how fast I can move that, that's way too fast. See how shaky it gets? You don't want that. You don't want it too shaky. You want that to be reasonably slow for the arms. The arms can move too much weight too fast. You start having stability problems, IRL, and in-game. Bucket, that's a good tilt rate for the bucket. Bucket's not a big deal. You kind of want to be able to tilt your bucket pretty quick. So you can see I can tap it slowly. Bucket might be a little fast, but the arms are way too fast. Let's go ahead before I... Oh, God damn it, I didn't mean to do that. I was going to test out steering first, but we'll go back and do it. All right, so arms are probably, I would say, at least twice as fast as they need to be. Bucket. Let's do that on the bucket. And then steering, I got to check it. All right, so here's the arms. Much better arm rate. That's probably more realistic. Now, I'm going as fast as I can. Notice, see how it's not doing like, it's not jumping up and down like it was? because that you have a reasonable rate. Now that bucket's a little bit better. It's not so fast, but it's pretty good. There we go. I like that. All right, steering rate. There's something wrong with steering. I got to see what's up with steering. Steering has a huge lag in it because I didn't do this. That's why. I didn't do AD reset 100%. That's steering. All right, there we go. That should help with that a little bit. All right, let's check steering again, see what the rate looks like. And so one of the things is you could make this reset where the steering resets, which would make it easier to drive this articulated. But the problem is when you're dumping things with a wheel loader, it's nice to be able to leave it off to the side. Now imagine you're trying to load something with a pallet fork. And you need to move the pallet 2 inches to the right. Well, you can do that. You just go tap, and it's 2 inches to the right. You need to move 2 inches to the left, tap, 2 inches to the left, and it stays. If it resetted, it would be, it would shake it all around. You don't want to shake it. So you're going to have to center this yourself. So let's check the steer rate. Steer rate's not terrible. Now I could put my steering stability system on here, and that would essentially, as the faster we're going, it would slow it down, but this vehicle's not intended to go very fast. We're currently going 5 meters per second, so we might be doing maybe 11, 12 miles an hour at most. That's all I want out of this. This is a big, heavy vehicle. They don't need to go fast. You don't want this thing screaming around because that's when you're going to break something and hurt somebody. They're too heavy for this, and you're going to tip it over doing that. So I want to keep it where, it's realistic. And the other thing, too, is, all right, so that one scoop we picked up 7, and we're going fast. We're at max speed. So what you'd want to do is slow it down, and again, with a proper transmission, as I downshift my gears, right, I don't need to look at what gear I'm in. I'm currently in first right now. That's neutral. That's first. And I can tell by the speed because remember, if your engine's turning a certain rate and you have a certain gear ratio, your wheel's only going to be able to turn at a certain rate. And so you can tell by the speed you're going what... you can tell by the speed you're going what gear you're in. So, like, people want gear indicators all the time. Yes, they're nice. They're convenient. I'll put one in here. But you don't need it. You can tell by your speed. So, right now, we're doing 2.42. We're in first gear. I'm doing 2.8. We're in second gear. Third gear. Fourth gear. Fifth gear. All right. Fourth gear. Third gear. Second gear. First gear. All right. All right, so we're currently at 37. So this short little drive here, like, I can slow it down just a little bit more too. Because I want you to have to keep moving to do these spots. What I might do, it's going to be hard to do that. I've already got my gear ratios down pretty low. But see, you just drive over it like this. And you're going to pretty quickly fill the bucket up. And I kind of like it that I want it to be realistic. I don't want you to sit there and drill all day. I want you to kind of drive and use it like you would. You'd drive over a spot, you'd scoop it up, you'd move to your next spot. All right. And then so you can speed up in the interim. And then you want to speed back down, you downshift. And then you pick up this spot. All right, we're almost there. We're pretty much full. We're only 2 more pieces of ore, and we're full. So here we go. All right, you heard the drill shut off. That tells you, hey, we're done. And then you would drive over, right? So you're going to drive over. See, we drop one because the drill keeps spinning even after we shut the power off to it. So it picks up some more. Now, they will stay in the bucket. See how it just fell out of the bucket? They will stay in the bucket. So you'll actually, if you get to wherever you're dropping them, they will stay for a little bit. So we're going to go over what we're dropping it on, and as soon as we hit the tilt threshold, it's going to dump the bucket out. If we go up, right, it's going to... Actually, I want it to do it here. So let's go ahead, and I want to reset this. I want it to do it right here. So let's see if I can find it. It's actually in the cab. I should just go in the cab and read it. I want it to still dump right here at max height so that you can go over something tall. So let's see, 0.0001. So see. Actually, I might have to limit the arm. See how the pistons are janking out? That's because the arms can go up too high. So let me set them here, right? Right there is the max reach. So I got to set the max reach. All right. That's now going to be 0.85, we'll say. 0.85, okay. What is up with this? Oh, why are those... Oh, this one didn't get... This one's broken here. I got to fix this first before I screw with that. All right. But yeah, so actually tipping the bucket's what's going to tip this out. Let's see. So it has to be more than what? Let's see. All right, let's bring this back in. I got to fix this arm. So one of the reasons why that arm is binding up is this one. That's not turning, huh? That's weird. This one is at max power 0. This one is at max power 0. Why is that sticking? I thought that might be the problem. Oh, it's not merged. That's why. Didn't get merged. All right, let's merge that. All right, that's merged. Now, these two arms are merged up. That's good. Okay, those are merged up. That fixed that. Let's do a reach test again, and then I want to check the dump. Giggity. Okay. Because that was causing problems. All right, so see how they're bending the hydraulic cylinders? This is why you actually have to like kind of care about the geometry of this IRL, is you will bend the cylinders if you go past certain areas. So right about there, they're still shaking, stopped. All right, so that's our new upper limit for the arms. All right. So that's 0.9. So 0.9 is the new upper limit. Okay. That's why I fixed that first, because it showed 0.85, but that was because it was binding up. All right, 0.85 is the new upper limit. And then with a 0.85, we want to check the tilt here, and I want it to be able to tilt at max height so you can tip it into something large. So right about, let's say there. So if it's anywhere less than, let's say here. I don't need to get out. Let's see if it's negative. Maybe if it's just negative. Yeah, let's say if it's negative, it drops it. All right, let's do that. That'll make it easier. All right. Let's see. Arms are now getting limited to 0.9. The bucket, we got the limitation, and that's good. All right, and then if this is negative, so if it's less than 0, it will dump. That should be better. All right, I like that. I'll catch up. I see Variante. I see a chat. I'll catch up with you in a second here. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Or J Cataclysm. Sorry, I saw Variante out of the corner of my eye too. How's it going there, J Cataclysm? Sorry, man. I usually that's Variante sends a bunch of explosions, and I thought that was him. It's not. It's you. But Jay, glad to see you back, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, these are my favorite things. These type of construction builds. That's why I was like really excited to get into this. And the other thing too is like, it's hard for me to do challenges because I'm so busy. So the one thing that it slowed me down the last Alistair challenge was I just didn't have the time to do all the interior work of the boat. And so this has much less interior work, so that helps a lot. All right. This is looking pretty good. That's a linear speed. That's fine. Tilt sensor over here can go. All right. So this mechanism here, I'm gonna try and knock out real quick. How's it going, Exorus? How are you? I'm probably gonna stream for maybe another 15. We'll see. So there's a cool mechanism. Let me see if I bring up a picture of it. Again, I fake this stuff. Pivots are very strong in game if you have your physics set to high. Period. And so if you have your physics set to high, the pivots are really strong. Like literally, Triton's crane, which can reach way out, carry 2 containers on it, no problem, and it has even picked up bigger vehicles, some big vehicles. It has two of these pivots is all it uses. 2 power pivots. That's it. So that's all you really need. But you gotta have your physics set to high. That's where so many people fall down is their physics isn't set to high, and then they have a huge number of problems that they shouldn't have. It's because their physics is set to low. You're telling the game, hey, give me worse performance. That's what you're telling the game, and then people say, hey, I have bad performance. Yeah, you asked for bad performance. Some other stuff that's interesting is like where they put the connection points on the where they put the connection points on, say, the hydraulic cylinders is you can see on like tractors you can buy for your own use, wherever this is attached makes it stronger or less strong, right? And so you can actually change when you move the bracketing on it. It will change how high the arms can go, but it makes it so that it can hold less weight. So, like you'll read the manual of some of that stuff, and it will tell you like, hey, you put it here, this will be your reach, but you'll be able to carry X number less pounds or kilograms or whatever you want. I'm trying to find the best picture of this to show you. They don't make it easy. Images are always tiny, and then you click on the link, and it like doing what it does now is a security scan. And it's like a pain in the ass. All right, here we go. I got some linkages here to show you. I can show you off this website. Finally, it took me forever to find a website. All right, let's see. All right, so this is how you do the bucket. So there's a couple ways to do it. And it's tough because in game we can't make really small bearings. They're all huge. And so if you look at the bucket, the higher you put it in the bucket, right, the further the travel. And so let's do this. Let's take a picture of that. And I will go and we will do this. All right, so here's your bucket, right? Let's go ahead and lasso this bucket. All right, so there's the bucket. Where's my erase tool? Not doing this. Why can't I not erase that? Why is it not letting me erase something? Huh. Why won't it let me erase that? That's funky as hell. So I'm gonna paint white. Why won't it let me paint? It's on 2 layers. It's like I saved it as a layer. It's weird. All right. Anyway, so here's this layer. I can animate it a little bit. All right. So, oh, I know why. Okay, that's fine. So the bucket, right, as the bucket tips, right, if we move it back to where the linkage was, right, as the bucket tips, this linkage needs to move further away. So you need really long linkage. So you need this as a is kind of swivel mechanism. You need a longer linkage the higher you put it on the bucket, right? Now, if you move the linkage down, right, the arc is smaller. So I'll kind of show you what I mean here. Let's take. Put a layer in here. Put a layer up there. Okay. So, like, for example, I'll show you here. If you, where the linkage is here, right, that makes an arc look like this, right? And we can actually, if it's circular, can make it, do that. We'll make a circle. We'll make it smaller, say 5. All right, so if this is the arc, right, and you take the arc, that's the arc of the bucket, right? So if the linkage is there, and so the arm has to be reasonably long. Now, if you move the linkage down here, the arc of the bucket gets smaller, right? So now the arc is here, the link arm can be smaller. If you move the link arm up higher, right, the arc is bigger, and you need a longer link arm to reach it all. So you need that longer link arm, so let me just let's get off this display cap. So I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here. So I had one in here earlier. So like the bucket is really being tipped in this case by this one pivot there. Some buckets will have hydraulic cylinders coming down the arms and tipping the bucket. That's one thing I could do. On a wheel loader, you tend to have, I'm going to build it up real quick so you can see it, but I may or may not use this. We'll see. So let's go like this. Let's do pivot. Robotic pivot. Oh, I can't cut that. See, these links I can't cut because they're needed for the actual rotation. So let's do. So I'm just going to build it up real quick. I'm probably going to jump off here in a second, but so one way you can do this to make the reach longer is you essentially go like this. You put a short swing up top, and I'll quickly show the geometry, and then I'll get off. But you go like this, right? And then you put a link arm here. So you'd have to have a linkage going across, and it goes to this arm. Now, because this arm is long, right, the range is high. And then you'd have to have a very long cylinder and able to go that distance. The longer the cylinder, it's going to be bendy, right? You don't want that. So what you do is you put a strong cylinder short throw up here. And so as this bottom arm moves a long distance forward and back, this upper part only has to move a short amount. So you can put a small cylinder up top, and you can put have a long reach in the bottom. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll save this up, and I'm going to jump off. But it's been good to stream and see everybody. Let me check Exorus's last comment here. Secret in hiding my drills. Let me show Exorus before. So, real simple. I have an XML piece here that just slots in. Right, we can grab it. That just hides it. That's going to be painted black, so you can't really see it. And this is what it looks like inside. So you have a drill. Now, the drill does not actually have to touch the ore. It has to be close to the ore. So what you can do is, this is all block. This is not, actually, I need to fill this in real quick here. Let's fill that in. There is a block all through here. So if the drill is close to the ore, it will drill. So it can drill through a surface. It's going to then put it up in the hoppers. Now, it was part of the requirement to have onboard storage. If you didn't have to have onboard storage, you could actively you could actively just fill the bucket, actually, because if this drills in here, it's going to spit the ore out in the bucket, and it will fill the bucket. I was doing that. You can do that. I could even run it so that it will go over that 81 number, and it will fill the bucket with ore. But the problem is they disappear, so you're wasting it. So that's how I hide it. But let me make sure I made a save quickly. 11:53. Yep. Okay. But it's been good to see everybody. Hopefully get some streaming in next week. We shall see. But if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.